Well, Jason, welcome back to the show.
Hey, appreciate it, Cable. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a few years, so welcome back. And I was actually looking at the website. You've been on the show 9 times.
Wow.
However, the last time was in 2018, so I feel
Okay.
like I've been a bad friend. I haven't had you
It's
back on.
it's been a minute. Been a minute.
Yeah. So welcome back. And we're obviously going to talk turkeys today. Have you made it out yet this spring?
Yeah, I took my son out. He got drawn on the Kerr WMA, so we went out there. Country looked great. I was a little concerned it's gonna be dry, but yeah, he got his bird that first afternoon after orientation, and then I drove down to the James E. Daughtry WMA and did standby. Got drawn there. Just horrible conditions. The only thing green was mesquite, just
Uh,
not a blade of grass. It was green. But windy. But still, bird came out. I yelped at him once. He came straight in, got
uh,
that bird with the new little Stevens 410 and the red dot, and then went up to
Decoys or
the.
no?
I had a couple of decoys. I was a little concerned, so I kind of tucked them away a little bit behind
Mm,
some brush, maybe so get a little bit of view. I didn't want it to be too wide open.
mm,
The bird that my son shot decoys right in the middle of the road. The bird came in, him and another bird came in, went to kind of peeled off, went behind and kind of circled around the decoy. Got me a little nervous about the decoys. And then I went to the Roger Fawcett there in Palo Pinto County on Tuesday for their standby. Got drawn again, so just my lucky year. And went with a coworker. He got his bird about 20 minutes into the hunt, and I had mine by 5 o'clock that afternoon.
oh, wow.
So I got two under my belt, and with my sons, we got three in the freezer for the year.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
good season so
I
far.
was going to ask you about these drawn hunts. Buddy was telling me he mentioned the cur was really good, and then there was one. Does Richland Chambers have turkey hunting?
No, there are turkeys there. We've done some
Uh,
restocking in that area along the Trinity River,
mm,
but no hunting season.
okay. He was telling me about another turkey hunt that he's done standby. Um, but yeah, he said they were all
East
great.
Texas or
There was one was in East Texas, and he said
Moore
they're
Plantation maybe?
what is it?
The Moore Plantation over
That's the
in
one. Yeah, yeah,
Newton Sabine County. Yep.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that one or anything. But he was like, yeah, they've. And have y'all been restocking there?
We haven't restocked there, so that's right over on the Louisiana state line and
Uh-huh.
pretty good bird numbers right there. Newton County, as
Those
far
are
as
all
East Texas
Easterns.
goes, yep. As
Mm,
far as East Texas goes, that's right on the Louisiana state line. That's some of our best populations in East Texas.
hmm.
Great place to go if you can get access.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he said that it was standby hunt though is what he was trying
Yeah.
to go on. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep. No, I've been drawn on standby on the moor two times, and I haven't gotten a bird there yet. I had a 2 years ago. I was out there and had two gobblers coming in, and then this hen just basically walks right on top of me. I'm
mm,
like, well, this is great for the moment, and then
yeah.
she walks on. And the gobblers just take off, following her away. So didn't shake out. It was a fun hunt. Heard a lot of birds. Saw a bunch of birds. So it's a
Yeah.
great place if you can get on
I shot one this week and had about 10 hens come in and
in a
here
group.
come. Yeah, uh-huh.
Golly, still
Yeah.
still flocked up that much, huh?
Hmm.
That dry
And
weather do
then
that.
oh yeah, but then here come the three toms and I could hear them before I saw them, not gobbling. I just heard the pff, and then they were
Okay,
all puffed up and I'm tucked in a tree and they're kind of behind some brush. But they're literally 10 yards from me. But I'm
that's
also
awesome.
trying not to look at them, trying to keep my head down and just wait for them to get in shotgun range. So the hens kind of started to saunter off and the toms they took off running and I was like, ah crap, did I spook them? So I just shot one in the butt as he was running away. I'm like, I'm not taking any
Yeah,
chances here.
there you
They're
go.
here. I got them in.
Yeah.
So
Now, those dry conditions and the hens are still flocked up, I'd spend more time calling hens than I do gobblers. I
mm.
want to make that hen mad, so she'll come over to check me out, and he'll just get drug along.
Oh yeah, and she'll be making all kinds of racket too a lot of the
Oh
time.
yeah.
So yeah. Um. So I've told this on the air, um, but we'll revisit it. So everyone says the Easterns are the hardest bird to kill, and like, don't you besmirch our Rios.
That's right.
Uh,
That's right.
But I went to Tennessee this last year and hunted
Me
about
too.
a 400-acre farm,
Okay.
and we knew where the birds were roosting, could hear them. I could not get them to cooperate, no matter what
Yeah.
I did. I could have been the time of the season I was there. Finally got one after like 3 days, but we had a hell of a time, and I walked away from it being like, I hate to admit when I'm wrong, you know.
Well, you got to, I mean, if you think about just the 2 centuries of persecution on those
Mm,
eastern wild turkeys, compared to our Rios, which had the Comanches protecting them for a century,
mhm,
and just a lot less persecution. And here in Texas, Rio Grande or just wild turkeys in general aren't pursued the way they are in the Southeast.
mhm.
So anyway, it's definitely a different bird, but I think that the Rios can be tough at times.
Yeah. Well, oh, there's been times where they've humiliated and humbled me for sure.
Yeah,
Like, you're
but
not
they're
a
an
smart
entertaining bird.
animal, so why are you giving me such hell?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, we have really good numbers in Childress right now. It's quite dry, but
yeah,
last year when we've been on this place coming up on a year, when we got on it, it was very wet. So it had a great spring, uh, good hatch. We got a lot of jakes, a lot of
yeah,
jakes.
yeah.
So
So 22 was an awful year, just a horrible drought. We had triple digit temperatures in May, and I
mm,
think most of the hens didn't even attempt to nest in 22. So we didn't have any recruitment. We don't have a lot of 4-year-old birds out there now. But what we did have is a lot of survival in those hens because they didn't try to nest. And they went into 23 and just a great year. Perfect. That's probably the year you got on, either
mm,
23 or 24. Wet, great recruitment. 24, same thing again. And then last
mm.
year, just kind of okay. This year's not shaping out, but if you got Jakes, you got a great opportunity for some 2-year-old birds next year. So sounds
Oh
like you're
yeah,
in pretty good shape.
it's funny. I've got quite a few cameras put out in, well, some feeders, but also just areas where I think turkeys will be strutting here, open areas, corridors, and it's funny to watch videos of these jakes try to puff up, and there'll be a tom in the video too, and like two jakes like bowing up. It's like
Yeah.
these toms aren't just gonna whoop your butt
Yeah.
uh, until there's like 5 or 6 of them, and then they just
Yeah.
run the tom off. But
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen
um,
those Jake mobs, man. They can really, they can wear out some adult birds
mm,
or just
yeah,
intimidating.
yeah, I shot uh, I shot a gobbler down in Junction one time, and I didn't even know these jakes were there. And he's flopping around, and here comes like 7 or 8 of them just assaulting
Yeah.
his dead body.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen gobblers do it to other gobblers,
Yeah. Just
but I
trying to
hadn't.
move up the pecking order.
Oh yeah,
Taking
yeah.
whatever advantage you can get.
Hmm. Well, so Jason, how long have you been with Texas Parks and Wildlife?
It's coming up on 19 years. Yeah, so the better part of 2 decades. I came on as upland game bird specialist, so working with mostly bobwhite quail and wild turkey. Took on all the wild turkey responsibilities at that time, and a few years ago, the title just changed to wild turkey program leader. So
So
yeah,
who handles bobwhites now?
Patrick Schutz handles bobwhites now.
Okay.
So we've had a couple of different folks, and he handles pheasants, prairie chickens, that sort of thing. Chachalaca down in South Texas. If folks are familiar with that bird, I killed my first one this past winter. Just
I
kind
was
of
going to say those birds don't exist. That's not a real
oh man,
thing.
they do exist, but there aren't many of them. They're few and far between.
So what is hunting for a chachalaca like?
It's like turkey hunting.
You
So
call them?
you can call. The call is not the easiest thing to replicate.
Mm,
I don't have a call. You can get a call on your phone or something and play that. It's just a ruckus, but you're getting down in that really thick chaparral country, down close to the Rio Grande or in the Rio Grande Valley, and they live in the thickest, nastiest stuff. So white-tipped doves are going to be in there mixed in with them. A lot of those neotropical migrants that live in that landscape. But yeah, I set up just like I was going to turkey hunt, in a thick spot along a road. Gave out some calls. This one came in and treated just like a turkey.
it just
So
walks in, huh?
it just walks in. Yeah.
And how big are they compared
Oh,
to?
they're the size of a pheasant, I'd say.
Okay,
Pretty plain. I mean, its name is plain Chachalaca.
yeah. Are
There's
they
not much
black
to it.
or gray?
It's
What
it's
color?
kind of this. It's almost like a dark olive color.
Okay.
If you were just looking at a distance, you'd say that's a dark gray or a black bird, but it's kind of olive.
Mm. So I'm gonna total bird nerd. Before I really was into hunting them, my dad and I had a Birds of North America book, and we would, yeah, as I
Nice.
was a kid, go on vacation, and we would mark where we saw a certain bird, the date, and where we saw it. Um, and now, he still likes to look at them, and I like to kill them. But
Yeah. I
but
still like to look at them.
oh
The
yeah,
exact same thing. I can pull out my birds of North America, all frayed along the
uh-huh.
edges, got little notes on the sides. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I don't do it as much anymore, but
Well, that
yeah, I still carry that
most of the
book on
birds now
vacation.
too. I mean,
Yeah, it's still, I don't know, just nice to put a note in the book.
yeah. Yeah, so no, I don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
that's something that stuck with me. And like I said, I'm a bird nerd, and I like to, when I'm hunting deer in South Texas and see the green jays. That's one that's
100%.
specific to that area. But I've never seen a chachalaca.
Yeah.
Um,
If you want to see them, you can go to some of the parks right on the Rio Grande Valley, right on the Rio Grande, Audubon, TNC, Texas Parks and Wildlife has some parks down there, and they keep bird feeders out, and they just come right in like it's nothing.
okay,
You'll see them in the parking lots. It's like, oh, look at this
so
dumb
there are
bird, but
areas where there's like dense
yeah,
population.
yeah, you can see them, and we're the northern end of their range, so mostly they're in Mexico and down into Central America. But yeah, there's this, they spill over a little bit, kind of where ocelots want to be, or
Mm.
where white-winged doves historically wanted to be,
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
landscape.
I've done a lot of turkey hunting in Raymondville around the
Yeah.
Uturia King Ranch area. Do they live there too?
There are some birds. So if you know some of that landscape where they're doing some of that ocelot work, where
That's
those
I've
ocelots are
hunted
moving,
on the Uturia where they have that ocelot
if
sanctuary.
if if there are ocelots present, there are probably Chachalaca present. The exact same habitat.
Okay, okay, fascinating. And how do they taste? Or did you get it mounted?
It's in the freezer. From my understanding, it's kind of like the aoudad of birds. But so I'm just getting up the nerve to cook it up and find some way. It's still in the freezer next to those three turkeys. So
Uh-huh. Okay.
I'll get
Right
there.
on. I know you don't handle quail anymore and haven't for some time, but our quail numbers in the Childress area have just, wow, dude, it's been
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. Now this year's probably going to be a
Yep.
down year, but
Yep.
uh, we've got
Yeah.
a lot of birds right now.
Phenomenal population this past year. I was able to chase quail in at Teacup Mountain, which is the Peace River goes through that, one of our new WMA's core property. Uh, Chased them further north in Oklahoma at Pack Saddle, went up to Kansas and chased them. That whole landscape had really good numbers this year.
Hmm.
South Texas too.
Oh yeah. So remind our audience about just basically what do you do at Texas Parks and Wildlife as the turkey program leader?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot, and it's always, there's so many different aspects to the job. This past, right now, this is a big part of it. Visiting with folks in media, and this is the springtime. People want to talk about turkeys, so
Mm.
providing information on what we're seeing, how the season's going to go, our forecast. To get to those forecasts, we conduct surveys. So we do a summer turkey survey where we're out there counting every bird we see, and we're getting hen poult ratios. We find that those hen poult ratios on good years, we're seeing, 2 to 3 poults per hen. We can expect to see more jakes harvested that next year, and 2 years later, to see those 2-year-old birds. So that's part of it. We do multiple different types of surveys. We have our mandatory harvest reporting now, which is providing some of the best data we have available. We do banding. So across the state, we banded maybe 500-600 birds this year. We use those banding data to create harvest rates. We pair that harvest
Mm.
rates with our mandatory harvest data to get population estimates. So a lot of that data that we're getting comes straight from our hunters and our landowners, and that's the citizen science that helps us do what we do in a privately owned state where we don't have enough staff to be everywhere, and there are hunters everywhere. It's a great opportunity to get that information. So that's a big part
Mm.
of it. Tie that in with research. We oversee research. We do some in-house research, and work on the regulatory process. So
Mm.
it's and other duties as assigned. So there's quite a few things out there that we do. That's kind of a small uh, overarching, I guess, snippet of what I do, but
Mm.
it stays busy.
So, for any of our folks not familiar with the mandatory harvest reporting, how long has that been going on?
So in East Texas, we've been trying to get Eastern turkeys established for years. So we've had mandatory harvest reporting for Eastern turkeys since 1995. That landscape from basically Milam, Lee County, that eastern edge of the Rio Grande Range, all the way down to Matagorda and Wharton County. That's been going on for 5 years. And then just last season was the first season that we had mandatory harvest reporting statewide.
Mm-hmm.
A big driver behind that is, we had our voluntary small game harvest survey. Turkeys are included in that. And we send that out historically to about 20,000 hunters every year. Our reporting rates just dropped constantly. Where we used to get 50% reporting rate, we're down to about 10 to 13% reporting rate.
Oh, wow.
That survey goes out in February. So you don't even get your spring turkey harvest data until a year and a half after the survey actually went out. You're asking hunters, what did you kill 10 months ago?
Right.
And where did you kill it? And that sort of thing. So the data just wasn't what we needed. We didn't have the amount of data. We're sending out 40,000 surveys now, still not getting those numbers. And we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just people being overwhelmed by emails and snail mail. But for whatever reason, those numbers have dropped significantly. And this was just a way to get better handle on what's going on in our populations. We looked at breeding bird survey data, and you see this population just constantly going up until about 2017, and then it crashed down to 1990s numbers, early 1990s numbers, and it's alarming. And you see it; it's not a Texas issue; it's a Great Plains issue. So you look at Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, you see changing regulations throughout that landscape, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not a coincidence that it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had on biologists from other states, just like what's going on with eastern turkeys. It seems like they've been declining in recent years as well. But you're saying Rios are not immune to this either, and that
No,
it's
no,
basically Texas and all the states directly north of us
yeah.
are experiencing the same deal.
So if you imagine that the rolling plains, cross timbers, all that country going straight, everything pretty much west of DFW out to say the Pecos River and just going north, you're seeing declining populations throughout that landscape. And it's not every year, 23 and 24, great recruitment. So
Mm-hmm.
we tick up, but we're not it's going to be hard to get back to where we were in 2017. And it's one of those things you watch and you're like, okay, it's going down. It went down again. It went down again. And then eventually you get 9 years in, 8 years in, you're like, oh man, we got a problem here. Because it's typical to see that up and down. It's the semi-arid region of Texas. You get good years, you get bad years. But those bad years started stacking up, and it was cause for alarm.
So, you think that it's directly a result of weather trends?
I think, yeah, I think if you look at, say, eh, nerd out a little bit, like the Palmer Modified Drought Index, you look at that going back to 1992, and you see we would have a good year, an average year, a drought year, a good year, an average year, a drought year. Now we're seeing a good year, drought, 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 average year, drought. It's not the
Mm.
same patterns that we were having, and it's not to say there's nothing natural, not natural about that, but you're also seeing brush encroachment, and for a while that's probably a positive for wild turkeys. So a lot of those grasslands, the rolling plains, the places you hunt over in Childress, that's probably a positive for a while. But once you start seeing that redberry juniper and things like that just starting to dominate the landscape, like you see in some areas along the Peace River, it eventually becomes a problem. And
Is
so I
that
think
what's on
it's
my place? I just thought they were cedars.
yeah, well, everybody calls them cedars. They're redberry junipers. We have ash juniper in the hill country. We have eastern red cedar. The beautiful thing about ash juniper and eastern red cedar, if you burn it or cut it down, it's dead. Unfortunately, redberry juniper, cut it, burn it down, it just resprouts and comes right back just as strong. It's kind of like mesquite in that way.
We've got 3,600 acres, and I'd say half of it is we've never even explored it because it's
Yeah,
so thick
yeah.
with those. Well, you're saying they're junipers, like we just said cedars,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I
whatever.
call them cedars if I wasn't at work.
Yeah, with good old boys, they're
That's
cedars.
right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. And my even my landowner's like, dude, I've burned in the past, and it's just like just beating my head against the wall. He hasn't done it in probably a decade, he said,
Yeah.
but it would take some major brush hogging to clear up
Yeah.
some of these areas.
Yeah. And
Um,
really the only way you get control of it is go in there and take it up by the root, get the entire root system out of the ground, which is grubbing. And so, I mean, if you just go in there and just mow it down, it resprouts. If you burn it, that takes the top off, it resprouts.
mm-hmm,
So you actually have to get in kind of like mesquite and take the whole root ball and everything out. And it's expensive, time consuming, takes heavy equipment. Yeah, it's a
mm-hmm,
lot.
mm. So that's affecting habitat.
100%.
Um,
Drought,
it,
impacting habitat.
yeah. Well, I mean, we know that drought affects bobwhites a
Same,
lot.
same, same, same,
Does it
same
affect
for turkey.
turkeys to the same degree?
Not so our turkeys are longer lived. So you look at the average lifespan on a bobwhite
Bobwhites are
quail,
frail.
it's 10 months.
Mm,
So most quail that are born will never reproduce. You're
mm,
depending on 5, 10, 15, 20% of your quail population to rebound. That's why after a couple of bad years, it takes a couple of years because you have to reproduce and make those breeders again. And then that second year of good recruitment, like we had in the
mm,
last couple of years, you see a boom. For turkeys, 2022, it was a drought. Our hens just didn't nest. They just trying to survive. They were stressed out. They were in bad shape,
mm,
but they didn't nest. So they had great survival. That's where they die, is on the nest. So they had great survival. They go into 23 and automatically they boom. So that's where you don't see the peaks and valleys with turkey that you see with quail, because they can forego nesting if the
mm,
situation gets bad enough, and really, really good odds that they're going to be able to nest that following year.
mm. Okay, so this isn't an over harvest situation because I do
No,
have thoughts about things like reaping, and then I look at how effective we've made ourselves as turkey hunters. I mean, TSS, you can shoot birds at 80 yards. I've never done it,
no,
but I know people that are proud to say, "Oh yeah, I shot this turkey at 80 yards,"
yeah,
and guys who would say, "I'd shoot them at 90, maybe 100."
yeah,
That seems insane. From I've only been turkey hunting, let's say 17 years probably, and I don't think I've ever shot one past 45 yards.
yeah.
But I've compared what 12 gauge, let's just say 6 shot turkey load compared to what I'm shooting out of my 20 gauge. And like, they don't really even flop when I shoot them with TSS. They're just dead.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, like,
So I have TSS on with a 410 load, 3-inch TSS,
mm,
number nines, and just got the 410. The red dot cost more than the 410 did,
mm,
and have laid out 3 birds so far. My son shot it with the 410, and I shot my two with the 410. And it's really just a matter of carrying less weight whenever I go out turkey hunting. But it is fun to take that little single shot hammer gun and just watch a bird drop, man.
yeah,
And it hits them hard.
yeah. It's gonna do away with the moniker of "can't stop the flop." They don't flop.
They'll flop. I'm not shooting them at 80 yards, so
Um,
I love having them up close. I
well,
like
that's the
seeing them.
thing, man. Like to have those three strutters literally within 10 yards of me the other
Yeah,
morning was, yeah, that's what you live for. And
100%.
yeah. Um. So, what about reaping? Like, there's a lot in. I've had conversations with um, renowned hunters from um, places like Indiana and Tennessee and Kentucky and um, Ohio, where I think reaping is like it's become pretty mainstream.
Hmm.
And there's lots of schools of thought that it's just too effective. And some states have banned it. Some states have banned it on public land for
Yep,
safety reasons because people are getting shot.
yep,
Um, I've tried it a couple times in Texas, just with the old. I love to keep my fans, dry them out, display them.
yep,
But
100%.
I always pick the ugliest one every year and be like, okay, you're the one
Yeah,
that's going in the truck.
that's right.
But I've only tried it a handful of times. Never had a turkey be like, lose his mind and be like, I'm coming.
Yeah,
So I've just kind of like, I don't even bother anymore.
I'm
Tried it for
right
a
there
couple
with you.
years.
No, I take a fan wherever I go. I have a full strut Jake
Yeah.
decoy. I don't use it that much, but I do carry that fan around with me a lot. And I found, and I'm not reaping with them, but I have fanned them, and I find that it is extremely effective. I've had
Huh.
birds. I was hunting, golly, which county was it? Anyway, North Texas,
Yeah.
and had a bird fly off the roost. Went out into a wheat field, and he's gobbling, strutting, just right on the edge of the wheat field. Will not come to me. set my gun down, pulled out the fan, set it up, and as soon as I did, I had to throw it down because he put his head down, came under the fence at a dead run right
Hmm.
at me.
Hmm.
And done that at least one other time where they're gobbling, they're doing their thing, they're with hens, and some of those subordinate gobblers are with them, bust out the fan, they turn around and they run straight into the gun.
Hmm.
So it is effective. The
Hmm.
reaping, I wouldn't, I don't think it's as concerning in Texas on private lands where you know where your hunters are. But yeah, if you're going to walk around and look like a turkey on a spot where people can legally shoot a turkey with a rifle, you should be aware that
Hmm.
that it's probably not the safest thing to do.
I saw one guy on social media, just like, I don't know how stupid you could possibly be. He had fastened a turkey fan onto a helmet that he was wearing on his head. I'm hoping he was hunting on private land, but
I
like,
hope so.
oh my God, like you're asking to get shot in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, we preach identify your target, but come on. I mean, you're
yeah.
kind of looking like a target out there.
Uh-huh. Um, well, yeah, so I do put the fan, I have a strutter decoy and they come, this decoy is old, but that was the main reason I used to take it out before like reaping got popular and just got rid of the plastic
Yeah.
fan and put that one in there. And a lot of people do that. Add
Yeah.
some realism to your decoy. I
I
mean,
think the dirt birds can definitely tell the difference too. I
of a
think they see
between a
those natural.
plastic fan.
I think they see those natural feathers, and they key on that
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree, and especially if there's a little wind and
Hmm.
your and decoys moving around just a tad.
I don't know what
Uh,
they see with that iridescence, but they're seeing something that triggers them 100%.
hmm. Hmm. So let's talk about the proposed regulatory changes. There's a couple. You mentioned Wharton County earlier. That's
Hmm.
one where they're supposed to just do away with the turkey season.
Yep.
And those are
Yep.
Easterns.
Nope.
Those are Rios.
We've
That's
stocked
in.
both. We stocked Rios, Easterns, and pen raised turkeys over the decades in the past. And again, pen raised turkeys are illegal. Don't release pen raised turkeys,
Uh,
but it's something we did for 60 years. We threw everything we could at that landscape. If you look at what's in that landscape now around that, we see mostly Rios. So any future efforts, we would use Rios in that landscape.
hmm. But they're just doing so poorly that the
Yeah.
seasons they're
I mean,
proposed
you
to.
look at so we had a one restocking effort maybe 5, 7 years ago in western Wharton County. The only bird that's been harvested and reported for Wharton County was a bird that was moved to Wharton County. It was released on that site. We banded it. That bird moved out of that release site. Wharton County had open season. The bird got shot. That's the only bird. So the bird wasn't even born in Wharton County. That's the only bird reported. Same thing for Matagorda County. 5 years of mandatory harvest reporting and zero reported harvest. So you look at all those counties north of it, good numbers being reported. So it's not a I don't think it's a reporting issue. I think it's a lack of bird issue. And we know that some birds still spill over in the western Wharton County, but we're hoping to create an opportunity where, unlike the bird that got harvested, we can close that county, start putting birds back in that landscape in suitable habitat, and make a concerted effort to try to get a population established there.
But so you've been, or we've been, Texas Parks and Wildlife restocking or trying to with Wharton County for 60 years.
There's been a lot of effort going
So,
across
so here's my
decades. Yeah.
question, and the same thing holds true sometimes when I think about Desert Bighorn and their struggles, and a lot of our Eastern restocking efforts. And this is your career, this is your life's work, and you might not like to hear this, but like for me as the taxpayer, like when do we just say, you know what, we're calling it? It's not meant to. It's not going to work out here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if the folks that we visit with in that landscape, you know, there's definitely energy and passion behind putting birds back in those landscapes.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the history of what's been done, and we're trying to not repeat the same approach. We're not putting pen raised birds in those landscapes. We're not putting Easterns down in Wharton and Matagorda County. Um, we're trying to take an approach where we're looking at a focal landscape along these riparian corridors. We have opportunity for multiple restockings for exchange of populations and genetics over time in those landscapes. So the research that we've done has been tied to this to suggest that these are viable solutions. So it's not just, stick your finger in the air and see if the wind's blowing right. It is based on science.
Hmm.
Um, Long-term sustainability of it, we'll see. But a lot of these populations that we started doing this 20 years ago, when I came on board, they're still out there. They're still doing their thing. We're trying to provide opportunities for limited harvest. We don't
Like,
want
give us
to
an example of an
of
area, of
that's
just
been
an area,
successful.
yeah, of success story.
Yeah, I mean, so you can look. There's a landscape between Highway 84 and 294 in Anderson, Cherokee County along the Neches River. We stocked that landscape in 2007, and there have been birds dying of old age out there since then. We still see birds out there. And, a lot of times you have to say, how do you define success? Is a 20-year established population success?
I'd say
Is it,
so.
so I would say that in that case, that's been success. My ultimate measure of success is, are we harvesting those birds? If we can get to the point where we're harvesting birds, like you said, it's $100. It's Pittman
Mhm.
Robertson dollars. It's your upland stamp dollars. That's what's paying for this. And I think there's a lot of momentum. I think it's a popular program, and we are showing success.
Yeah.
It's
And to be
not.
clear,
It's
I'm not like knocking it. Like, I'm not saying
no.
don't do it. I'm just, I always do wonder, like, the phrase, or throwing good money after bad money, right?
Yeah.
Like, that comes to mind sometimes. I'm just like, I don't know if it's not,
Yeah.
and it really, with the desert bighorn, they've been taking it on the chin, just like we had success and now we're just petering
Yeah.
out. We're in a
Yeah.
bad way, but we're going to keep
Yeah.
spending the money. We're gonna, and maybe aerial gunning the aoudad is the solution. I know we're doing that. So, and we have
Yeah.
been doing that, but I think we're putting it on steroids these days. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, you know, the Eastern turkey restoration effort may take care of itself. A lot of those states where we used to get birds, they're just not providing us birds anymore. You saw the
mm,
southeastern turkey decline. You've seen regulation changes in a lot of states across the southeast that historically provide us birds. Taking places like South Carolina and Tennessee, they're not providing birds anymore because those populations have taken it on the chin. And they change regulations. It's not politically favorable to change regulations, say cable can only shoot one bird now and he has to do it a week later than he used to, but we're going to send these birds to Texas anyway.
yeah.
So we're, going places like Maine and Rhode Island and places like that to get Eastern turkey broodstock now for our restoration efforts. So
Mm,
back when we used to get hundreds of birds a year, now we're getting tens of birds a year. So
okay.
that thing's kind of phasing out on its own. I feel like if we had enough birds, that we could have a better chance for success. But, we're working in focal landscapes. We're trying to not take a shotgun approach, but take a more strategic approach on how we do this. But yeah, once we put on the ground, it's up to the habitat and the birds and the weather. And there's a lot of things that are out of our control.
Hmm. Well, and I've always wondered that about the eastern stuff. And again, this isn't knocking anything that Texas Parks and Wildlife has done. And I'll tell you, coming out of your mouth just now, you know, how are you measuring success? Harvest. Well, that tells me all I need to know. Like, we are coming at this from a hunter opportunity standpoint, not just because it makes us feel good to say we put easterns back on the landscape, right? So I love to hear that because, I think two things can be true at once. Obviously, hunters are financing it, Texas Parks and Wildlife, but everyone gets to enjoy it at the same time. But there has to be the payoff for the people footing the bill, you and
Yeah.
I. So, in a lot of states, wildlife agencies, we've seen what's happened in Colorado and what's going on in Oregon, and they are not doing what Texas Parks and Wildlife is doing. And I've had, uh, you know, over the course of doing this almost 17 years now, I would give Texas Parks and Wildlife always an A grade of putting hunter opportunity, at the forefront. And it's sad to see what's happening. Like Colorado, what a great tradition-rich Western hunting state, just being destroyed by really leftist politics that do not care about hunting. That's not their focus. So it makes us feel bad. It's about emotions instead of science. And everything you're saying is it's science. It's science. Why are we continuing to do it? Well, science says it should work. So we're going to
Yeah.
keep trying.
Yeah.
But part of me on the Eastern thing, it's like, clearly this is the very fringe eastern, like this is the abs, just kind of like the
Yep.
ocelot in South Texas. Okay, this, yeah, they're there, but
Yep.
this is the northmost part of the range, and for the eastern turkey, this is the westernmost part of the range. So, I mean, I kind of get why they're struggling. It's fringe habitat.
Yeah. But you can even look at, so we've been doing some work in Williamson Bell, Milam County, just east of I-35. You can go just west of I-35 and just phenomenal populations. You go just across that interstate, and it's along the Edwards Plateau, Blackland Prairie ecotone,
Hmm.
and it's a different habitat type. But within a matter of miles, you go from abundant populations to almost none. And so even being that much on the edge can play a significant role. The thing that gets us in East Texas is if you close your eyes and you drove from Western Louisiana into East Texas, you wouldn't know that you had left one state and went into another.
Hmm.
Very similar habitats, but one thing that's different about Western Louisiana is they are connected to that ocean of birds going all the way to the East Coast, right? So there's not a whole lot of fragmentation of turkey populations across that landscape.
Hmm.
We are just a trickle that's spilling out of Louisiana into East Texas. And I really believe that's why Sabine and Newton County have the populations they have, because that landscape is part of the Louisiana population.
Hmm.
Um, but so yeah, I agree though. We're definitely on the edge. One thing that we've done is in some landscapes, we released both Eastern and Rio, trying to determine, because we don't have that historic sample. We don't have birds from the late 1800s that were harvested in East Texas to tell us what subspecies was there.
Hmm.
If you look at some maps, they suggest that the Rio Grande went right up to Louisiana and Arkansas state line and just stopped right there at the political boundary.
Right.
And then some others say that it's the Trinity River, but there's no DNA evidence to suggest which subspecies was there. It was probably this ebb and flow over the centuries where, weather patterns changed and the Rio went further east and the Eastern went further west. So it's hard to know, but we're putting both subspecies along the Trinity River, or have done that. And now we're doing DNA work to see which one uh, outperformed the other. There are places around like Gus England Wildlife Managed Area. You mentioned Richland Creek, WMA, some of those landscapes along the Trinity River corridor. Those birds where we started just with Rios, just south of DFW, are thriving. You look right there in Kaufman and Ellis County, and I get positive reports all the time. And that's where we started. We're working our way down the Trinity River with quite a few Rios. And if Rios work, that creates a lot of opportunity for Texas Parks and Wildlife, because we can get them in our own backyard.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So we're obviously getting high on our own supply there. We're not having to go outsource birds from other states with the Rios.
Yeah, and you get a lot of the testing that has to be done. We still test these birds, but the birds I get from out of state, they have to have a vet inspection. They have to pass an avian influenza test. They have to pass a salmonella test before they can be released on the ground. So they get trapped in one state. They overnight that blood to a lab. That's 24 hours. And then you have to run a 24-hour test. Those birds are in the box for at least 48 hours, usually, closer to 60 hours before they're on the ground, compared to you catch a Rio in South Texas or North Texas this morning. I'm releasing them this afternoon on the same landscape. And we
Mm-hmm.
have good survival on those Easterns. We see very low mortality from that transport, but there's no doubt there's a stress involved in that's going to have some impact on that bird, at least for the short term.
What about interbreeding between the two?
Same species, North
Yeah.
American wild turkey. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you look at there's a common ancestor somewhere back in history. They all came from the same bird. It's just over time where they got geographically separated from each other enough that you start seeing that interchange. The Rio Grande wild turkey's subspecies name is intermedia. It's an intermediate subspecies between those mountain birds of the west and the easterns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why if you shoot a Rio someplace, sometimes you're like, oh, I killed a Miriam's or I killed an Eastern. No, that's a Rio. It's just, it can look like all these. So it's already kind of this mutt of a bird, that I
Mm-hmm.
love.
It's in the middle. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. Um, I've always wondered this, like why, and maybe there are places in more rural Texas that have like a bunch of residential birds that just frequent people's backyards and stuff. But I mean, I saw a bird. This video, the guy said it was Staten Island, New York, where this turkey's just walking around,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why do these birds thrive in such urban settings in some places? And I also wonder a lot about like our deer. Like, why can't we have deer in parts of North Texas in greater numbers? Or you see the certainly in the Midwest a lot of urban archery hunting. Um, we don't. That's not really a thing around in Texas, and I don't know. So I know deer's not your specialty, but with the turkeys, why don't we have more like just Rios just wandering around urban areas?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you consider urban, but you can go up to Lake Louisville, and there are turkeys. I watched a gobbler in somebody's backyard, just right off of, I think it was I-30.
Uh-huh.
So they are there, and you talk about deer. I've been going through San Antonio on I-35 and looking at between not
The
the
hill
median, but
country is like its own
right there on the
animal. Yeah.
exit,
Yeah.
birds in the middle of San Antonio. So yeah, it does
Okay.
occur, and turkeys as well. So you look at San Antonio, just on that west side, there are turkeys all over that landscape. We call it like 50 birds there, just on the edge of town
Hmm.
this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
but yeah, to your point, it's not Staten Island. It's not that, and I think where you do see those birds making it in those sort of landscapes, I think there's got to be a reduced predator component there, or
Hmm.
something. And there's certainly no harvest, but I don't think harvest is really an issue. I think it's the predators, and having fewer predators in those urban landscapes, and those birds that can tolerate being around people and cars and all that, and figure out how to make it work.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, a lot of the Northeast, you see that. In the Northwest, you see it as well.
Hmm. I mean, did you see the one gobbler chasing the UPS guy? This video?
I
I mean,
don't,
this
where was that
person's
at?
videoing it from an apartment,
Oh, yeah.
and the UPS guy driver gets out with the package, and this gobbler just starts chasing him, and he's like screaming like a little girl.
Yeah.
Like, definitely not a lot of testosterone in this dude,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was
Well,
pretty funny.
so we have there's a retirement community just west of Georgetown. And there were people, there were gobblers in that landscape that probably people been feeding in that community, thousands of houses,
Mhm.
paved roads, parks, the whole thing. And these gobblers got so used to people that they were going up, and little old ladies walking down the street coming up and attacking them. And there was a delivery driver that came up and was trying to kick the turkey. The turkey jumped up, knocked him on his butt. And it's not funny. I'm not trying to make light of it,
I'm not
because
really laughing.
but but I mean, we have those situations in Texas, and it could become more of a problem as we see urbanization. You think about Austin area. I mean, it's like a bomb went off of concrete and rooftops,
Oh yeah.
and they're encompassing some of those populations. It was funny. We went to that landscape, and they were like, "That's the turkey right over there." I put on my gloves and walked down the street. It's like, "Come on, buddy." And he just
Hmm.
turned and walked away. So I think they can kind of look at you and say, "Yeah, he's killed turkeys before, or not." So.
That's funny. So we obviously know like our um, migratory bird or game bird program leader and our certainly our waterfowl program leader. They work closely with other wildlife biologists, peers from other states, like
Mhm.
the Central Flyway, for example, for waterfowl. Um, do you work with, or do you bounce ideas off of, or talk about numbers with your peers from some of those other states you talked about?
100%. So I'm own and have chaired or co-chaired the National Wild Turkey Federation technical committee. That's all the states that have birds. Is not Alaska. They're usually not represented, and Hawaii doesn't show up that much. But for the most part, the continental United States folks are in that room. We meet quarterly. At the national convention, we meet in person for people that can make it, and then otherwise we're meeting quarterly virtually, like what we're doing here today. I'm also on the Southeast Wild Turkey Working Group. So that's a member of the Southeast Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. We have our own working group, and we meet annually. We're having that meeting in Kentucky in June. And then I also serve on the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. So all the Western states, including Western Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, all the way over to the West Coast. So yeah, that is something we do. We take very seriously, and it's a great opportunity to learn what other people are doing, bounce ideas off each other, see what research priorities they have versus what we have, what their issues are versus what we're seeing. Yeah, we have a lot of different communication. We just had the National Wild Turkey Symposium that was hosted in Kansas City, Missouri by Missouri and Kansas and the
Hmm.
National Wild Turkey Federation. A lot of publication and science coming out of that. A lot of opportunities for us to meet and bounce ideas and have a beer with our cohorts from other states and just talk turkey.
Did you go to Nashville this year?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I want to do that. Everyone says those are my people.
Yeah.
You know,
No, you would enjoy it.
I go to SCI, and it was the week after NWTF this year, but I've never gone to NWTF, so I'm going to check that out sometime in the
Yeah.
near future.
It is the vendors are insane. They open it up at like 8 a.m. or whatever it is, and people are waiting in line, and they say, "All right, you can go," and it's just a sprint.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
I
need to
don't
check that
participate
out.
in the sprint.
Yeah, nor would I. So let me ask you this. Going back to those regulatory changes. So
Mhm.
Wharton County closed season. Matagorda is closed too.
Matagorda. Yep.
So those are the two counties. And then I think the only other thing that I was reading about, and these haven't been adapted yet. These
They're
have just been
adapted.
proposed.
So they won't go
Oh, they
into
are
law.
adapted.
They don't go in. They've been approved by the commission.
Uh-huh.
They don't go into law until next season. So the 26-27 season, officially. So when the fall season occurs, archery in what is that going to be? October 3rd or 6th, something. I can't remember the opening day of archery season. That's whenever, at least in the north and south zones, you can
Mm.
start fall harvesting turkeys. That's when those regulations, Matagorda and Wharton County only had a spring season. So spring of 2027, those two counties will not have a spring turkey season.
Okay.
They can harvest a turkey in Wharton and Matagorda County right now if they can find one.
Mm. If they can find one.
Yeah.
But so the main thing, obviously, those two counties doesn't affect the majority of the population, majority
No.
of turkey hunters. Um, but has the hen proposal been approved as well? So
Yeah.
we're going to do away with the hen harvest in the
Either
fall.
sex harvest is going away, so you can still harvest bearded hens. That's the way it was in most of the in the South Zone during
Mm-hmm.
the fall. We allow bearded hens in the spring in the North and South Zone. We don't allow that in East Texas. So North Texas, north of Highway 90, basically the I-35 corridor over the Pecos River, north of Highway 90 from San Antonio to Del Rio, all that country north with an open season. It had an either sex season. So if you wanted to, you could go out and shoot 4 hens. That's gone away. And that's based off what we believe is a declining population. Uh, you know, growing up in East Texas, don't shoot any does. Those are your breeders. Those are your babies. When it comes to a turkey population, it's the same thing. When you're struggling, protecting the hens is probably the best thing you can do. We see most of that hen harvest occurs in the fall when that either sex is available, and it's basically I'm deer hunting. I'm sitting with my rifle out the deer stand window. The deer didn't show up. Hog didn't show up, a turkey showed up, I shot that. It was not turkey hunting, is opportunistic take. So I would imagine anybody you asked that was out there and took that bird, or that 30 flock of hens came running in, scared off a deer you wanted to shoot, and you took it out on one of the hens. So it's yeah, it is a change. It's going to have some local impact. There are certainly some areas that have high densities where people want to keep those under control, but we generally manage at the ecoregion or zone level. And across that zone level, we've seen that decline since, the better part of the last decade that
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to do what we can. I'm not sitting there saying that we're going to change the population with that regulation, but it's not going to hurt that
Mm-hmm.
population.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point that you brought up because, like, I'll be honest, I've never shot a hen turkey. It doesn't appeal to me. I want to save all my tags for the spring. That's what gets me fired up. I'm not knocking it. If you want to put a bird in the freezer for Thanksgiving, by all
Yeah.
means, go ahead. Um, so that's never been something I've been interested in, and I felt like not that many hunters did it anyway. Do you have any idea how many hunters actually were harvesting hens?
So from our mandatory harvest reporting data, we're seeing about 40 to 50% of the harvest in the fall was hens.
And what kind of number are we talking about?
You're talking about as far as reporting, that right now, and reporting's new, so and the deer hunters aren't as familiar with it as our spring turkey hunters are, so it's growing, probably a couple thousand birds.
Probably double that. Yeah.
If you want to think about trying to figure out reporting rates and just the information getting out there to the hunters, especially the fall deer hunters that are shooting turkeys, I don't think they're as familiar as people that go out and are true spring turkey hunters. And not to say there aren't fall turkey hunters, but they're few and far between. Most of it's just incidental. And we ban birds every year. I've had people that harvest in the fall have a hen. They have the fan spread out. They take a picture. They send me the picture and say, "Hey, look at this bird I killed." Oh yeah, you harvested a hen. Oh no, that's not a hen. That's a gobbler. So even knowing what they harvested, they know it's a turkey, but
yeah, that's so foreign to me. But there are a lot of deer hunters that could give a crap about turkeys.
yeah.
I'm on a lease with multiple ones. They're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't care about those damn
Good
birds.
for you.
Yeah, I mean, they could give a rat's behind. They do not interested. Doesn't do anything for them. But what
Have
you
you ever
said,
taken them hunting in the spring?
no, I don't want to.
Don't
They're
do
going to
it.
be putting pressure on my birds. No,
Well, exactly.
of course, I would take any of them. I try to tell them. I really do. I'm like, you're missing out,
Yeah.
man. Like you pay for this year-round lease. They're like, nah, I'm just here for deer, or, shoot the occasional pig or whatever. But yeah,
You can get hooked pretty quick.
The thing you said
about that.
that I wanted to circle back to, which I didn't think about this when I posted the regulation proposal on my Facebook page, and there were multiple people that were pissed. They were like, man, now these turkeys I need to shoot them to keep them off the feeder, not because I'm so much interested in, hunting a turkey or whatever. So there was a little bit of blowback from that crowd, like you alluded to, and
Yep.
I didn't ever even really think about that.
Yep.
They're annoyed with them.
Yeah, that's definitely I think that is where the biggest negative impact. I think if you talk to turkey hunters, you'll see a ton of support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look at our public commenting, there was a ton of support. But absolutely, the people that are annoyed with turkeys, there's definitely some pushback there.
Yeah.
And I feel for that. I want to make everybody happy if I can, but in a declining turkey population, sometimes, there are decisions that have to be made that aren't going to make everybody happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I do feel for those guys, but like you said, I don't know any real turkey hunters that are hunting in the fall. I mean, there are some guys. I've interviewed a guy who's says it's just as good and calling them and stuff, but you're not getting the display from the gobblers, so that doesn't interest me because I want to see that. That's what I'm looking forward to. But by and large, I don't think Texas turkey hunters, like you said, it's deer hunters that shoot a turkey. Turkey hunters aren't going out in the fall being like, I want to burn one of my tags on deer hunting a turkey, right?
Yep. People buy their super combo. They're like, oh, I can legally shoot this bird. It's eating my corn.
Mm-hmm.
The bird gets shot. And like I said, I feel for that. But at the same time, when we went to a 30-year low in our population, that should be alarming to everybody. And I would imagine if the turkeys disappeared completely, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but on some of those places where people are annoyed with them, they would miss that bird. Sometimes you don't really miss what you have until they're gone. We've been watching this the rolling plains for years. There was a period of time where landowners would call and say, come get these turkeys. Those same landowners are calling now saying, what happened to all my turkeys? So these are people that used to be upset with them, peanut farmers, seeing the birds on the wheat, whatever it might be, asking what happened to my birds.
Was there any internal discussion about just reducing the bag limit? Because, I mean, let's be honest, I love when I get my Texas hunting license every year. It says 4 turkey tags. I love it, right? I mean, there's states where it's 1 or 2 or it's a draw. I mean, I think we have it pretty good.
When's the last time you killed 4 birds?
It's been a couple years.
Yeah. The average
hunter, I've hunted, getting close to 20 years of turkey hunting. I've probably done it less than 5 times.
Yeah. The average turkey hunter is harvesting one bird. So 65 to 75%, depending on the year of our, like this year, there's a lot of 2-year-old birds out there making it easy on us. But the majority of our hunters are killing one bird. You want to bump that up to two birds, you're covering 85 to 90% of our hunters.
Hmm.
It's less than 1% of our hunters kill four birds. So I could reduce it to three or two birds and still, if I reduce it to three, 99% of those birds are already being harvested, right? So I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes a
It
lot of
makes
sense.
it
It's
makes no
science. It's just
impact.
numbers, a numbers
Yeah.
game. It's yeah.
So I could go down to two, and we're still going to kill 75 to 85% of that population that we're killing every year.
Hmm.
Um, so
Well, it's great to hear. Well,
yeah,
yeah, it doesn't. It wouldn't make sense. It would just be, just saying we did it. But
yeah. No, from a
like you said,
political standpoint,
yeah,
I could take a win,
yeah,
but if we want to be scientists and true to the science and true to the data, it makes no impact. So we can
right.
provide that opportunity to that less than 1% of the population of hunters that actually kill four birds in a year. Um, but I personally, I don't want to manage our populations that way. I want to base it on the science and the data that we have available.
Yeah, and I don't think the hunter wants, more restrictions, right?
No,
I mean, we're not over here screaming govern us harder.
yeah,
So no, we appreciate that, and that I didn't realize that only 1% of turkey hunters are killing or tagging out essentially
yeah,
using all
yeah,
four of their tags.
yeah. Very uncommon.
Yeah, so it would not affect population levels on a
No,
grand
not
scale.
from a population. Now, I'm not saying that not being able to shoot regular, just your normal hen, which is 90% of your hen population, isn't bearded. I'm not saying we're going to have leaps and bounds changes, but it's a privately owned state. We have very little we can do as a state agency other than set bag limits and regulations. I believe it will have a positive impact. I don't know how positive that will be, but keeping a couple of thousand extra hens on the landscape, you're going to have better opportunity for production and
Yeah,
recruitment of new birds.
and you said the average hen, based off your hen poult surveys, has 2 to 3 poults,
In a good year, she'll have two to three. So
but she
2020,
starts with like 10 or so
yeah.
or
So
12.
dude, the number it's amazing that these populations survive at all. So 2022 we had 0.68 poults per hen. So the hens weren't
That's
even
not good.
replacing themselves. No.
Mm.
And then 2023, when we had all that survival hens, we carried a lot of hens over. We actually saw like 2.7 poults per hen. And then 24, 2.6 poults per hen. This year it was just 2.09 or something. So just barely breaking even in 25. But except for your landscape up around Childress, that they did really well up there. So,
Yeah.
and if you think about the average hen goes in, she's going to have one nest on average. The majority of the hens don't renest, even if the first nest fails. Um, if 30% of our nests are successful in a year, that's a phenomenal year.
Mm.
If 30% of our poults survive to 4 weeks of age, that's a phenomenal year. So just imagine 70% of your nests are going to fail and 70% of your poults are going to die and not be recruited in the population. Um, and that's a good year.
Mm.
2022, it's you just say it didn't happen. It's
Mm.
almost like there was nothing going on there. Um,
One time I was axis deer hunting in Kerrville, and I saw a hen with. I mean, she had like 10 poults, so they must have been very young, right? Predators hadn't started killing them yet. And I took some video of it. Thought that was super cool. Next thing I know, there's a gray fox stalking them.
yeah,
The gray fox got shot.
yeah. And foxes are very efficient, but pretty much anything. I mean, hawks, rat snakes, coach whips,
Mm.
raccoons getting eggs, you name it. Coyotes, bobcats. I got so many pictures of bobcats taking out birds that are, they're stalking feeders. Um, no, and that's not to say that there's not going to be. We have this hen that's just super productive and a great mom, and she just carries those poults, all 10 of them, and they get recruited. And then you got four others that don't do anything, and you're still at 2 poults per hen. So it all
Mm.
averages out. That doesn't mean there aren't your super producer hens out there. They're doing a great job. Um, But yeah, it's it's definitely a numbers game.
How do so in your relationships with your peers in other states, are there many states that have a hen season at all? Or are we kind of one of the outliers, or were now we're not, but
Yeah, so it's and we still allow bearded hens to be harvested, but that's more,
it's more
and I
like a
get I
mistaken identity
that's
deal.
it, and I get so much flack from the waterfowl guys like, well, I have to know what this bird is, at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's, but anyway, it is kind of a mistaken identity thing, and we don't want people to just go out and dig a hole when they figure
You're
out they
not trying to
messed
make
up.
criminals out of
No,
hunters. Yeah.
no, I want those new hunters that are coming in. They made a mistake, learn from it, move on. No, those bearded hens are reproductively viable. They can produce eggs, produce poults. They're usually your older hens because they're starting to display that beard. And the older hens probably are going to be a lot more productively are recruiting more birds than your juvenile hens.
Oh gosh,
So
now
I
Jason's
love
shaming
to
us
have
into
them.
not shoot bearded hens.
Oh, don't shoot bearded. No, I absolutely. That's. I wish I had a T-shirt that said "No bearded hens," but again, at the same time, I want our hunters to. I don't want somebody to get a ticket or feel like they did something wrong because they made an honest
Yeah,
newbie kind of mistake. But don't think that we're suggesting there's something wrong. And this is to whoever's listening. This is I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with bearded hens. We want them on the landscape too, but we are trying to have your back as far as not getting in trouble for something that you didn't mean to do.
uh-huh. Let me ask you about this, and this goes back to I was on a deer hunt in southern Oklahoma, and they had a ton of birds, and I'm like, that's a mature tom. I'm looking at him out of a deer blind, but I'm like, his beard is non-existent, but it's not a Jake. And the
Yep.
landowner told me that they had a bunch of beard rot there,
Yep.
and then so I was telling one of my buddies, he's
Do you know what year that was? Was it 23?
no, this was a decade ago. This was a
Decade
while
ago.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But I had never seen it on any place I had hunted previously. But I never saw a gobbler, and I saw a lot of turkeys there. I think it was there for like 4 or 5 days on a muzzleloader hunt. I never saw one with a beard. Like all of them were just cut off like after an inch or
Well,
so. And
yeah.
so I don't know. Is that something that it happens in Texas, or
Yeah. So
what
it's
causes
stress
that?
it's stress related for the most part. I mean, there could be other things going on. The bird could have been injured, but for all of them to happen like at the same time, I would guess that was right after probably like 2011, 2012 drought. Those
Mm,
birds suffered. So after 2022, if you might see birds with striations in their beard. So these like blondish looking lines. That's caused by stress. So in 2022, when those birds were just trying to survive, so they're sitting in the shade, triple digits in May, 60 days straight of triple digits. Those birds are suffering. They're just trying to survive. And they're in the shade. They're not out feeding. They're not taking care of themselves. And that's one of the first things to go. They lose weight. They stop producing what's needed to grow those beards, and they just fall off
hmm.
or they
Interesting.
break
Okay.
off, I guess.
They
So
just
it's
get
not
brittle.
necessarily beard rot. It just becomes brittle and they lose it.
Okay. Huh.
There is beard rot though, but I would guess it was, if you said it probably had something to do with the stress period.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, I think, man, that's about everything that I had here bookmarked to get into today. Fascinating stuff. I certainly appreciate the time. Congrats on an awesome season for you and your son so far. And now, honestly, though, you have to answer this question: Are you going to try to be in the 1% and tag all four birds?
I don't get too, if I love to chase turkeys.
Uh-huh.
So if the opportunity presents itself for me to get out and chase more birds, 100%. And
Yeah.
if I tag out, I tag out. I may have tagged out once.
I
I
really
have,
like hearing this from our wildlife biologist that oversees the whole program. Like he's a hardcore hunter. We need
I
more
do.
of that because we
I'm
are
headed to Wyoming this year, going to chase some birds up there in
Merriam's.
mid-May. So I hope so.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the target.
Yeah. Very cool. Have you gotten your turkey slam?
No, no, I never chased an Osceola before.
Well, you
I've only
got
killed.
3 or 4 grand laying around. You can go chase one for a turkey, right?
I,
That's kind of
I'm
what
waiting for that invitation.
right. Yeah, I'm in the same camp as you. And it's so weird because let's just say 15 years ago, they were maybe like $1,000,
Yeah,
$1,500, and then the turkey slam became this sought after thing. You can only
yeah,
get an Osceola in Florida. Well, it's
yeah,
supply and demand. So yeah, now
yeah,
I'm going to charge $3,500 for one turkey.
yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
and I just can't stomach that. So I'll just
No.
thank goodness we get 4 tags here.
100%. And that's not changing.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Jason. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for all you guys do,
Thanks,
and
Kevin. Appreciate you
looking
having
out
me.
for us hunters. Yeah. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the
I
time.
wish I'd worn